ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between.
He's a South Texan poppy poet living that hashtag middle-class gay life. It's Chibi.
She's a little bit Selena, a little bit J-Lo, and a whole lot of Pisces. It's Rocky.
And this is Words and Shit,
the show where you get to know the person behind the poetry.
Brought to you by Write Art Out
and Gemini's Productions.
Hi, friends.
Hi, how you doing, friend?
I'm doing so good. Oh my God.
Oh my God. No, not that coming out.
I mean, that is the best way to say it.
I mean, it seems like you feel yourself. You are feel. What is it called? Feeling your oats? Is that the term? No.
Oh, I'm so bad with idioms and colloquialisms. Like, it's because my mom was like an immigrant, so she doesn't know any of them, and I don't know any of them.
Me neither. But we're here to talk about poetry.
Yes.
But you know, even though we're here to talk about poetry, we read.
We do. Oh, it's like we're love word or something. I don't know.
We read other things besides the poetry. Because I think it's important, right? You know, to get out there and read other genres than what you work in. So I just finished reading Johnny Appleseed by Joshua Whitehead, which was a book. Funny enough, I saw it once, like I was in line to get on an airplane, you know, in Southwest, and the person in front of me was reading it. And I was like, that's such an interesting cover. And I started asking him about it, and he was telling me about it. And it was about, so I ended up getting it and reading it. It's such a good read about a two-spirited, queer, young Native American living on the res in Canada, right? And navigating that kind of life, right? These stories that aren't often told, and working as a sex worker, and kind of like defining like where he finds they find pleasure versus where it's work, and how pleasure and guilt are sometimes intertwined. Pleasure and grief are really intertwined. And it was such an incredible read. I devoured it in 24 hours. I haven't done that since college.
Wow, that's amazing, friend.
Yeah, I couldn't put it down. What are you reading right now? What's tickling your fancies in the literary world?
Well, I feel like this year I really wanted to explore more Latina or Latine writers, especially within like magical realism and romance, but specifically those who are like in my age group, like 30-year-old and whatever. Because I feel like I've really explored YA, and that no longer speaks to me. Characters were in their 20s. I was like, they're still babies. And I think there's the complexities of being in your 30s and wanting to find yourself and love. So we started this year with Olga Dies Dreaming by Xochitl Gonzalez, which is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. I think that's my favorite book of this so far this year. Right. It really talks about like someone being a wedding planner who's in her 30s and just finding love and how it's messy, and having sex with random people, and trying to figure out like gentrification in Brooklyn. And then moving into more of like the romance side. But I'm not usually a romance novel type of girl. But we're out here and I found I was like looking for romance novels, and then I'm single. Recently broken up with.
Are you living your fantasy life via romance novels?
Yes, right. Like I didn't think I would be that person, but then I have jumped from like the romance novel, and I was like, it was very PG-13 with their scenes. So I'm like, no, I need more.
Oh, now, you're in the dark section of the library?
Yes, the very dark section. Now I am in a very erotic type of readings that we would call smuts. And yes, very
no shame attached to the smut.
Yes, no shame whatsoever. So the last book that I read that was just like, I could not stop myself in so many. I mean, I had to stop for reasons, and then didn't want to stop. was called Obsidian Feathers, a Latina dark fantasy romance by Anne Caraceres. And she writes about like indigenous, like specifically from El Salvador, and I'm half Salvi. So I really wanted that to like be centered into it. And if you kind of like werewolves,
wow.
They're kind of like werewolves, but they're more indigenous, like cadejos, which are like dog spirits. But it's very, very fluid, and there's like queer characters in it. But like the sex scenes are so raw, and so many different ways of the interpretation of raw. I'm like blushing right now.
Oh my god!
But yes, your girl is lonely, and
it's all good.
And pleasure is found in different ways, right? Through books. Our mind is obviously one of our most like intricate and parts of our body that elicits sex, right? And pleasure and the erotic.
And it's so funny that you are into this at the moment. This was so coincidental because our guest also is deep in the erotic fantasy realm and reading those same types of novels. After the recording was done, y'all just gave each other like recs for like the next 15 minutes. And I'm like, I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And the conversation was so centered in finding pleasure, right? And I think that's so important as we continue to like grow. Because like, as you were saying, right, how do we find pleasure in ourselves, in our own bodies, with other bodies? Yeah. I thought it was a very fascinating conversation, especially for queer people of color, right? Because we've been so oppressed from pleasure for so long.
And so the pleasure in itself is trying to get it back agency and power to ourselves, which I think our guest today was fantastic of doing, Ayanna Florence, who is a poet, creative, and teaching artist, originally from Chesapeake, Virginia, and currently residing in Charlotte, North Carolina. She's a Brave New Voice alum, a Southern Fried Poetry Slam finalist, and has been performing spoken word across the country since 16 years old. Ayanna is the 2023 Charlotte Grand Slam champion, the current North Carolina Regional Slam champion, and a 2023 Queen of the South Slam champion, and one more. The most important and of this year, and the 2023 Women of the World Poetry Slam champion. She is passionate about using her poetry as a method of healing for herself and for others. Here is our conversation with Ayanna Florence.
Hey, Ayanna, welcome to Words and Shit.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Chevy.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I'm like, I love this energy. You're bringing energy for me. I'm hyped. I know. I already feel like we're just in here together and we're just like really great friends already. And we're going to
yeah, we are. In my head.
I'm ready to go and delve into like the tea, the cheese man, whatever you want to share. Okay.
Yes, I'm with it.
Because Ayanna got the tea.
I always got it. I got the tea and the tequila. Okay, I got them both.
Oh my God. If it wasn't too early, I would be like, we should just get a shot of tequila right now.
Absolutely. It is giving shot o'clock, but let's relax.
Actually, let me not tell him myself.
I'm already there.
I'm on it for both of y'all.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my goodness. So, before we really go into it, I really love to just kind of do a quick check-in, right? Because you're going to be talking a lot about yourself and vulnerable things. So let's do a quick check-in and tell me, friend, how's your heart today?
Oh, Lord. Gee, that's a quick check-in. How's my heart?
Yes. We gotta know the mood. We gotta know how we're navigating.
Well, let me see. I mean, just in general, I'm a very emotional person. But my heart today is a little full. I'm excited to be here. And like, I love Chibi Down. Like, I really love Chibi Down. I love Chibi's work. in everything that you do. So like getting invited, I was like filling my oats, you know what I'm saying? Like, ooh, I'm gonna pop up on this thing. And like the energy is just really good here. And like, so my heart is feeling pretty full today. You know, life be, I can cuss, can I?
Yes. It's called words.
Oh, thank fucking God, child. Let me get that out now before I start running my mouth. You know, life be kicking ass. But there's always so much to be grateful for. And it's always so much to be thankful for. So I would say that my heart is feeling full today because I'm feeling grateful. I'm feeling thankful. So we're gonna leave it there. We're gonna leave it there.
Oh, that's so good. And you know, like we usually leave these episodes with our hearts feeling full, right? Having these conversations with itself just like really like fills my cup. I know personally. Yeah. And I'm going to speak for Raquel because we've been doing this for a while, like fills her cup also. So I'm here for it. And let's get into the cup filling. So before we dive deep, we like to skim the surface, right? And just get to know you a little bit better with a segment that we call speed dating. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So we're going to ask you 4 questions. And we encourage you to answer as concisely as possible. And maybe later in the conversation, we'll come back to something you said and be like, wait, let's unpack this. Okay. So
like one word or 2-word answers.
1 word, 2 words, a sentence, you know, like
2 sentences, however you feel. Yes.
Gotcha.
So, first question. In an alternate universe where poetry doesn't exist, what would Ayanna be doing?
Where poetry doesn't exist, I'd be an actress. Unfortunately, but I only say that because we're not supposed to dive in.
You're good.
Yeah. You can go.
I only say that because that's what I grew up doing my whole life before I found poetry was theater. So I don't even know if theater would exist without poetry. What is theater without Shakespeare?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I might have to change my answer, but some kind of performer, I guess, still.
Love it. See it. Know it.
All right. So my next question is, what is your current obsession?
Oh, okay. So, let me reel it in.
It could be whatever. It could be body parts. It could be like food.
No, my current obsession, I got you. My current obsession is definitely romantasy books. I'm a big reader.
Yeah.
But that specific genre has me in a chokehold right now. Like, it's bad.
Oh my goodness. This has been my year of like romance novels, and I've never wanted to do it. Yeah.
I got some recs for you, girl.
Okay. I'm excited. Please send them my way.
Get your fix. It's all good. Okay. So then my question, and I ask this of everyone that comes on our show, what is your favorite thing to eat? Like, what's your favorite dish?
Okay. Well, we can take it over there.
It could be a dish. It could be an item. It could be a snack. It doesn't matter. You know.
I would say, and I love food, child. Oh, that's hard. I love tacos.
Yes.
A good shrimp taco.
Oh.
Okay. Yes.
A good shrimp, just a good quick shrimp taco with some like aioli and the cilantro and the onion.
In Charlotte, you find a good shrimp.
Okay, we're here.
I'll make them at home.
Okay.
The food is good in Charlotte, but I'm still waiting on like a really good shrimp taco. But until then, I make them at home.
We got you in Texas, okay? Whenever you.
I've been trying. Every time I see y'all in Houston, San Antonio, motherfucking Dallas, and y'all, we at the taco truck. I be salty on my phone, swiping. Get the fuck out of here with that. Get the fuck out of here with that. I be pissed. I know y'all getting them tacos for $2-3. I need it.
Yes.
Jealous, just jealousy.
Yeah.
All right. So this is my last
last question for the speed dating round. What is your favorite accessory that makes you feel fierce every day?
Oh, that makes me feel fierce. I would definitely, I don't know if this counts as an accessory, but I'd say my tattoos. I actually just got a new tattoo like recently, like last week. But I got it on my thigh, so it's like my first one below the belt. And tattoos just make me feel like a badass. So I definitely say they're my favorite. They always got something to say, and I'm very particular about it. So it's like, yeah, when I come out the house and like I got my tats showing, I be feeling, ooh, you know?
Feeling here for it.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, so we've gotten a little bit, just a sprinkle of who Ayanna is, but let's go ahead and dive right into it. Could you kick off the conversation with a poem, please?
Oh, I can. Okay, let's do this one. This is new, so let's, we just gonna pray that it's up here in this good old noggin. Yeah. Preface, I guess. My work is very, if that makes sense. Like I'm very it's very strong and powerful and loud on stage, which is a big part of who I am and my personality itself. But I really want to write something softer and tap. I've been trying to tap more into my vulnerability these days and like write more work that is like super honest and pure and kind of like I can't hide behind shouting and screaming to get my message across or to feel the feelings, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I have this poem. There's a poem by Tess Siegel called A Response to Those Who Say I Write Too Many Love Poems. And so I wrote it after to her piece. And mine is called A Response to Those Who Ask Why I Don't Write Love Poems. Okay. Love poems are for the hopeful or the hopeless, and I am neither. I am the fearful. I am blind woman on tightrope with 6-inch stiletto. I am baby bird on clipped wing with dead mother in love. I am ghost. I am shell of myself shrunken and scared for my life. I do not write love poems because vulnerability is a cliffless mountain to climb with no cord. And what's more vulnerable than a bleeding heart? What's more vulnerable than a broken one? I'd much rather give voice to darkness than to let love and light turn me conscious cadaver, a bated breath, waiting for knife to kiss my rib, and underneath all that light, it starts to feel more autopsy than autonomy. Love cracks open my chest cavity and demands my heart keep beating, dares me to show someone how they keep blood pumping through my veins. A love poem would ask me to claw at the scars and beg them to scream, beg them to say, I was beautiful too, once. And love has always been more reason to go than reason to stay. I'm always afraid that someone will see me for all that I am and hate it, or that someone will see me for all that I am and love me more than I love myself. And that kind of talk don't belong in a love poem. Death scares me much less than heartbreak, so I'd rather write a suicide note than a love letter. Love has almost killed me more times than I've almost killed myself, and someone once asked me what love feels like when I'm in it. I answered, I can tell how much I love someone by how afraid I am that they'll leave, by how closely fear of their betrayal lingers at the nape of my neck, by how easily my gut turns enemy fire. I do not write love poems because why would I memorialize what I'm trying so hard to forget? I don't want to remember what that joy felt like before it left me gaping and open. I don't need a reminder. I already have the scars to prove it existed. At least depression doesn't lie. At least trauma keeps its promises. At least the darkness gives me something consistent and true. I look at love and see a black hole wrapped in starlight. a swallower of a joy that feels eternal but isn't, a lie that this too will last in love poem. All for the hopeful or the hopeless, and I am neither. So I won't write one, not until someone gives my heart a place to rest, not until the joy is real this time, not until I'm safe, I'm safe, I'm safe.
Please pardon the spooky noise. It's been every once in a while.
I was going to say, I was like, that's new, but you know what? I'll whistle with it.
The soundboard is haunted.
Period.
Oh my goodness, that was beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you for listening.
Of course. You know, I also identify as like a black, I'm not black, sorry, as a queer woman of color who's femme too.
Yeah.
And it is so hard to really just be vulnerable, right? Of like who we want to love, especially like when we're femme, the erasure that we see, the erasure that we have with like outside, or like you're not gay enough or you're not queer enough, and then like the erasure that we internalize. So I think I want to ask you, what is your like, why do you think it's so important, and like, do you like, how much do you enjoy bringing your black, queer, femme experiences into your poetry?
So I'm of the belief, right? I'm of the belief that as a queer black woman, every poem I write is a queer black femme poem, because it's coming from a queer black femme. So like, it's always going to come from that perspective. I find it very difficult to speak about like relationships and love and all that stuff in my poems, because it's probably the most vulnerable piece of myself. But I try to, or not even try, I have no choice but to bring my full self to everything that I write. So when I'm writing a poem like that, obviously it's in a space of queerness, in a space of like loving women. And I would agree with you. It is hard out here. It is hard out here. I'm not even like, I mean, I'm femme, but I'm not even like hyper femme. And it's not easy. And I'm going, honestly, to be frank, maybe I'll do, because I didn't even pick what poems I was going to do for I came here. But now I think I want to do like the poem I have later that's like queer. But I've been going through like this transformational period with my sexuality, right? I've been reading a lot about like compulsory heterosexuality. I've been reading a lot about just different like queer dynamics and what that looks like, and what attraction is and what attraction isn't. And it's shown me how gay I am, A, how gay I am, but B, like how much I've ran from that in the past, because I'm so emotional. Like I'm not really too much emotionally attracted to men. I just can't get with it. But I'm very like emotionally, mentally, spiritually attracted to women. And so it makes relationships with women so much more vulnerable, so much more like, and so just coming to accept that, girl, don't run from it. This is where you're supposed to be. It's a very vulnerable space to be in. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I love that you know like kicked us off with a very vulnerable poem. You know, like you said, you're on stage. You are. Yeah, and as someone too that like has a performance background, you know, like
absolutely,
and sometimes prioritizes the performance over the poetry. Said it.
It's okay.
Not me calling myself out too. It is a very safe place to be when you strip away the performance and just kind of let the words do what the words should be doing, right?
Yes.
And so I'm curious, you know, like how are you finding ways to tap into that tenderness these days?
A lot of self-introspection. It takes a lot of, I don't know, like I said, I'm a very emotional person, and I go and I do these poems that people are like, oh, thank you for being so vulnerable. You're being so vulnerable with your work. And I'm not saying I'm not, because it is vulnerability that I am showing. However, I do, like you said, Chibi, I will hide behind, I've come to realize recently, these are all very recent, within the past couple months discoveries. I will hide behind the performance because it's so easy to go up and give a powerful performance when that's what I'm used to doing. I have a performance background, going up there and giving a powerful performance and almost like convincing everyone that I'm being vulnerable. And I'm not saying I'm not, but I'm not, it's a certain true vulnerability that you have to tap into. And in my writing recently, just kind of tapping into the words that I don't want to say but need to be said. Like, I was in a writing session yesterday with some friends and some peers, and we were picking cards from, like, y'all know the and, where you ask the questions. Have you heard that game? It's like called the and. You should look it up. It's really cool. But they have like these questions that you can ask probing questions with. They have different decks for relationships, family dynamics, blah, blah, blah. And so we had the regular one, and, it was like, oh, you can pull a card if you want, like a prompting. And so I'm shuffling them like it's tarot. I'm like, give me something good. Give me something good. And then the bitch did what I asked it to, because I pulled it, and it said, what do you carry with you every day? And I said, well, goddamn now. Like, you ate that. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I carry so much emotion, and sometimes a lot of pain, a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. And so tapping into those uncomfortable feelings, those feelings you don't want to bring to the forefront, that you don't want to say, that make you feel a little bit like, that's how doing that poem for the first time, I thought I was going to pass out. I was reading it off my phone. Mind you, I don't get nervous performing. I've been performing since I was 3 years old. I do not get nervous performing. I get nervous slamming because I'm competing and I'm being judged. But like at an open mic or a feature, I don't really get too nervous. I read that poem off my phone. I was shaking. My hands were shaking. My legs were shaking. My voice was shaking. I couldn't breathe. I'm like, oh, I'm saying something that I needed to say. Yeah. Like, I'm saying something. This is me being brave. This is me stepping outside my box. This is me, like, taking a leap of faith on, like, myself and, like, the emotional intensity that I have, and saying, okay, I might have guilt and shame and pain and hurt all wrapped up in this, and it's a really icky feeling that I don't want anybody to see, but someone needs to see this. And also I need to see it for myself,
Yeah.
I love it. No, I think when you're sharing something that is, like you were talking about, that you are carrying this emotions of like grief, pain, and it can be hard to find like the pleasure of sharing yourself, or just pleasure of in anything, right?
Yeah.
And I think I want to ask this question because I feel I have these vibes off of you of like, I want to know how you are healing through pleasure, right? You talked about novels, and I feel like since you're delving into that, you want pleasure, and pleasure doesn't also always have to be like sexual. It could just be anything. So where are you finding pleasure, and like, are there poems that you are embedding that is exploration of pleasure in it?
Yes. So before I was in this era of, I need to be more vulnerable, I got to tap into the stuff I don't want to see. Before I was in that era, I was in an era of, how do I find joy in my work? And a big part of that is surrounding myself with people and community that I trust, that I can lean on, that can lean on me in return. So, it's reciprocal. Surrounding myself with things that heal my inner child. That's why I've been reading a lot over the past couple of years. I was a big reader as a child. All I did was read. And over the past couple of years, I got back into reading. And so I read a lot. I read really heavy. I read a lot of books. And I find a lot of joy and pleasure in that. And just like, I don't know. I like going outside a lot of times, just getting some sun.
Yes.
Not feeling like, even on days where I don't feel good, like saying, we're going to get up today and, I have a little balcony outside. We're going to walk to the balcony, just stand out and bask a little bit. or we're gonna go to the car. We're gonna drive to the bookstore. We're gonna drive to the Starbucks. We're gonna something, just little things. I feel like it's so important to do just little things that bring you joy and pleasure, and like heal your inner child a little bit. Go get yourself a fancy cocktail at 2 p.m. You know what I'm saying? So go get a lychee martini.
Yes. But then my follow-up question is like, now that I know like a little bit of what you find in pleasures and joys for your everyday, what kind of joy and pleasures were you experiencing when you won being the number one woman of the world? Tell me.
Look, I got my trophy sitting right here too.
Let them know.
It's see-through, but it's right there. Yeah, that was the best day of my life. There's really no, from top to bottom. I mean, first of all, let me just say this. I did Womxn last year. I did the Women of the World Poetry Slam last year. I got in 14th last year. And I hadn't slammed in 7 years. I was a youth poet. And so I'd taken a long break, came back, did Womxn, and got in 14th. And that week was the best week of my life last year. And I didn't even touch final stage. And it was the best. Like, Womxn is the festival. It is the bar. It is the standard. She's just that girl. She's just that girl. There's no other way to put it. So I already was going in this year with like, I'm going to have the time of my life. Right. But I was also going in this year of like, I want to win. I wasn't going around saying it. I wasn't going around saying it out loud, but in my brain.
Yes.
Yeah.
I told someone I seen Ebony Stewart calling my name and announcing me as the winner. I saw that vision in my head for months before that ever happened. I swear, the exact way it happened, I was seeing that. I was going to bed at night dreaming of that, like seeing it, dreaming it, visualizing it, like exactly the way it happened. And it was just the best moment of my entire life. It felt like it was extremely affirming of just the work that I've done and the work I've put in. It was extremely like humbling because of the women who won before me and came before me. It's like I come, like, if you like the line of women who have won Womxn is just iconic. And to my name being the next one, like, right, it's just, it's really, I mean, I forget sometimes, and then I wake up and remember, like, oh, bitch, you're the number one woman poet in the world. Wait a minute, like, like I be forgetting. I'm like, damn, I'm actually a national slam champion. Like, that's something that really happened, and it's not something I expected to happen this soon in my life. I was 26 when I won. I'm 27 now, but I was 26 when I won. So I was like pretty young, to win it. And I'd only done Womxn once before. But in that year between last year's Womxn and this year's Womxn, I worked. Like, I was writing, because I went to Womxn last year and I was like, oh, this is the level. This is where they're at. How do I push my pen? Because I came to Womxn last year and slammed with like all old poems. I was not prepared. I didn't know what I was doing. It was my first adult slam ever. And I left Womxn last year feeling like, oh, okay, like, this is what I need to do. And I spent that entire year writing, slamming, taking workshops. Like, I'm a student of the craft. I love poetry. It's like, how do I push my pen? How do I push my performance, push these concepts so that I can be on that level, so I can be right there with these people, you know what I'm saying? And then I came back this year and won the whole damn thing. So yeah,
I was there. You did that. You did that. I was watching from backstage, just being like, oh, damn. One, the competition was fire, and then two, you went out there and just slayed it. Really, congratulations. Very well deserved.
Thank you.
A perfect transition for another poem.
Ooh, okay. So we were talking about joy and pleasure. So now I kind of want to do this poem.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wrote this poem very much so in a space of, I want to write something that feels good, that it feels good to do, that makes me happy. And so, yeah, we'll do this. I feel like, I don't know, I feel in my spirit like Chibi's gonna like this poem as well. Like I feel like this is a Chibi-esque poem, and I feel like you're gonna like it. So maybe I'm biased in choosing it, but fuck it, you know? Okay. I'm crazy, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. Psalm 139:14. When it comes to masturbation, I like to consider myself an expert. Like, now I've actually got this shit down to a science. I set the scene. Pretty lights to bounce off my skin and music that makes me feel all soft and pliable. Candles bright enough to see my own shadow. And when I touch myself, heaven's gates open like it's the praising, like it's the loving that got me here. And they call this a sin. Call a woman any name under God for deciding to become one. Every time I bust a nut, I birth a world. You can call me creator. There's power in a self-love so deep it's scripture, and they call this sacrilege, like something shameful about shattering at your own altar. Pleasure at our own palms be a purgatory. We're told that God only celebrates sex between married folk, but what covenant more binding than the one I have with myself? And if I was made in God's image and born to praise God, how can God not be pleased with me, pleasing me? I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works. In the 19th century, church and state will use pelvic massage to correct female hysteria while still maintaining masturbation as a sin, meaning men would steal our orgasms for research, but our hands would be chopped off if we sought them out ourselves. So call this reclaiming. Call this for all the times they couldn't claim themselves, for all the women who don't yet know God's love, who don't yet know their own, and all the power right there. Like, we've been known pussy be a portal. Are we surprised they tried to keep it from us? So call this call to action, call this private party, call this me time. And what better expression of self-love than this one? What greater worship, what higher praise? And I will praise thee as you should praise yourself. And maybe I'm oversharing just a little bit here, but I just think it's important to know that you got options here, even if you ain't got them nowhere else. You answer to you here. You answer to God here. And they just may think me a blasphemy, like all the women before me, that I'm taking this out of context, like everything else ain't taken out of context, but God will hear this and think me a reflection of herself. And ain't I holy?
I love that.
Thank you.
Definitely a reclamation, right? In a way of like getting past shame, you know, and Catholicism and all sorts of like emotions that are inside us, right? And it's so, you know, the universe works in mysterious ways. Before you hopped on here, I had hopped on, and one of the video clips that are just lingering in the backstage area was a conversation we had with a poet named Seema Reza about emotional literacy, right? And how poetry is a way for us to find the words to work through emotions like shame, like grief, like angst, like love, like pleasure, like joy, right? And so through poetry, we're able to find the words to express it, so that then when we talk to other people about it, we're actually present in the moment with them and not reliving those emotions, right? And so I want to hear a little bit about your journey through understanding that emotional literacy and kind of like putting it into your work, you know?
Oh goodness, that's good. I feel like the goal, not even just the goal, but like the point of my poetry, the point of why I write, is sometimes for me like I said, I'm a very emotional person, but it can be incredibly difficult for me to put those emotions into words. Like if somebody asks me, how are you feeling today? I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like I can't.
Right? You're like, fine, I think.
I guess, I don't know. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's very difficult. If I'm having a tough conversation with someone, it's hard for me to say exactly if I'm having like, unless I'm like writing it out, I can kind of do it a little bit easier. But conversations about emotional shit is so tough for me because I often cannot find the words. So poetry for me is almost like a Rosetta Stone. It's like a translator. It's like it takes what's inside of me and puts it in a way that's like anybody listening, including myself or including whoever I wrote the poem for or to or whatever, can understand how I'm feeling about a specific incident or a specific, you know, emotion or whatever the case may be. And so, you know, in my, like I said, I was in a writing session yesterday and they were talking about something called the iceberg theory.
Okay.
It's talking about something called the iceberg theory. I mean, I understood what it meant, but that was the first time it was broken down to me of where like, when you're describing something in a poem where you're talking about something, you're saying you want to make someone feel what you're feeling. You don't want to describe it like, oh, the sunset is beautiful, but like you want to write it in a way that makes someone feel like they're seeing the sunset. You know what I'm saying? And so I strive to do that with my work and to write in a way. I think James Baldwin also, so I was reading a James Baldwin interview recently, and he also said something about his writing and being able to put the reader or the listener in the moment and not just explaining and describing the moment and how it felt to them, but like, no, I'm going to pick you up and put you there. And so that's kind of a translator type of thing as well, where it's like, you know, I'm taking you from one place to the other. And I strive to create work that other people can feel seen and feel heard. And when they don't have the words to say the thing, like, it's okay, baby. You know, if you don't have the words to say the thing, it's okay. I got them and I'll say them. And if it resonates with you and it helps you, then I did my job. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No, I definitely understand because I'm a little obsessed with the last poem that you you do. I mean, who's not obsessed with masturbation, right?
Absolutely.
Like,
let's talk about it.
Especially right here where they overturned Roe v. Wade, like so many, right? And just like historically, what they've done to Black and brown bodies, like medical history, that we can have our own pleasure for ourselves. I'm glad that you actually, you know, you can use your words to give other people words to explore that too. I guess my other thing is like, when you are writing this, right, you also kind of bring in like in your works, like family dynamics as well as like friend dynamics too. How do you bring in the words for your family, maybe that they can't really speak out loud, maybe like the secrets, right? That all people of color, we all have secrets in our family. How do you give them words, right, to find pleasure and joy or express themselves for that healing journey?
Yeah, I have a good few poems about, I feel like so much of who we are, I mean, and this, any psychologist will tell you this in life, but so much about who we are is based off of how we were raised, who our parents were, how they treated us growing up, your experiences as a child. So much about who you are as an adult is based in how you grew up, right? And so a lot of my work has been diving back and figuring out, you know, that side and then bringing it to the forefront. And how does this relate to who I am in the modern day and the decisions I make and the things I do and the patterns that I, you know, continue to perpetrate. It can be difficult because my family does listen to my work. My mom is my biggest fan. She was at Womxn when I won. She was there. She was there. She was not playing, as were a bunch of my aunties. Like, we love the aunties, you know. And so, you know, my family hears my stuff. And to give an example, not to get too personal, but I have a poem about my dad being an alcoholic. And just his abusive tendencies growing up in that household. And it was very difficult for me to write that poem. And I was only able to recently write it because, we were having some issues and, not speaking, right? And so I only felt free to write it because I felt like I was free from the relationship. Mm-hmm. But even still, like that poem has gone like pretty viral on like TikTok, and hundreds of thousands of people have seen and commented on this and messaged me and like, just affirming me, but also I relate. This is my story. This is my story. This is my story. And it's like, yes, I'm doing this for the right reasons, but also everyone who I'm related to has also seen that, It's a very difficult thing to reconcile with knowing something so personal that they didn't know about me, that they didn't know about with me growing up or didn't know about my dad or whatever the case may be. And it's like, it's one of those things where I know my dad has seen it. You know what I'm saying? I know my dad has seen it. I don't know how he feels about it necessarily, but I know he must have seen it. And other family members have seen it and, hitting my mom up like, oh my gosh, like, is this real? Did it really happen? And it's like, yeah. And so it's kind of like it's a hard balance beam to walk across because, there's a certain level of still that guilt and that shame of, what happens at home stays at home.
Yeah.
Right. Like you don't speak about that shit. You don't go and tell strangers or friends or anybody else about anything that's going on. But it's like when you're silenced in that way for so long, when it comes time to be loud, it's loud. Mm-hmm. It's really loud. Like, it's not like it goes beyond you loud. Because it's like, when you've been quiet for so long. And then when I did that poem on Womxn's final stage. And it was my second time in life doing that poem. I did that poem in the third round on Womxn stage. It was my second time in life. And, my family was in the crowd and all that stuff. And it's just, it's hard to balance because when you're talking about stuff that's so personal, and there's other poems too, where I'm talking about stuff that's so personal and, family and friends, they're like, oh my God, like, damn, bitch, that happened to you? Or like, I didn't know, and this and this and this. And it's like, I've accepted that it's just kind of, I don't want to call it a burden because it's really not a burden, but it is my cross to bear of like, I'm going to say the thing because I know I'm not alone. And then when I say the thing, I don't feel as alone either, right? Because it's people saying, I feel you, I feel this, I relate. Thank you so much for sharing. I felt alone, blah, blah, blah. And so
it's a form of liberation,
Absolutely. Big time.
Yourself from your history, from your past, from your traumas, from your grief, all of that, and just kind of like shedding. And you've definitely like put yourself out there. And like you said, you've been performing since you were like 3 years old, right? You did Brave New Voices.
On stage.
For anyone that doesn't know, Brave New Voices is like the poetry slam competition. Poets. You've been on national stages, and now you are taking your work as a poet, right? Like we're used to writing these little like bite-sized stories, these 3-minute stories, taking your work as a poet and transforming that into a whole production, a one-woman show, right?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
As someone who has done that, it is not easy taking, bite-sized 3-minute snippets and transforming it into a cohesive hour-plus long experience that an audience, rides that journey with you. So can you talk a little bit about that journey of creating the show and like where it's at?
I will. I'm actually really excited to talk about this. This is a dream that I've had a very long time. I've always been a theater kid. I went to Howard for theater. And it was kind of there, honestly, that I discovered that I wanted to do something more than just like act. Like, I'm like, I want to write. I want to direct. I want to put on productions. Like, I want to do the thing, right? And so I got an opportunity here in Charlotte with Boom Charlotte. They're like a organization that puts on shows for artists and creatives in the Charlotte area. And got an opportunity with them to do a one-woman show at this brewery or whatever. They were doing a string of them. They were doing a bunch of, not just poets, like dancers, people who were wanting to put on shows, whatever. And so sitting down to figure out how I want to do that, I'm very big. I'm a Beyonce fan. Okay, let me start.
Yes,
I know that feels off topic, but I promise it is relevant.
Yeah.
I am a huge Beyonce fan. She is my idol. Yes. I love her. And what I love her for is how she constructs these fully conceptualized eras. Yeah. And they last years. Like she developed from jump, right? And so I have a manuscript that I've been working on that, fingers crossed, we're gonna get published, Chad. Not even fingers crossed, we're gonna get published. Mm-hmm. We manifesting that into the air. And the book has the same name as the show, which is Moonchild. And Moonchild essentially is a word that just means an extremely sensitive person. You know what I'm saying? I'm also a Cancer, so I'm like a child of the moon and all that stuff. I've always loved the moon, so felt really connected with it. So I wanted to write a book about the emotional intensities of Black women and how that manifests out into our everyday life, and give us space to be that. And so the show is essentially the same thing of exploring, you know, what Black women go through emotionally, the things left unsaid, the things left unheard, and honestly allowing myself the freedom and the space to explode, right? And to put it all on the stage. And honestly, sitting down and doing it, it's one of those things where you sit down and, you know, I pulled up the document. I'm like, okay, let's flesh this show out. And I stacked the poems that I wanted and the order I wanted them to go in and the transitional things in between. And I did all the things. And I sat back and I looked at it and I was like, oh, wow. Like, you know, it's like, oh, wow, I really did that. And then I went and actually did the one woman show. And I went up there and I had my little note cards. So, you know, it's fresh, it's new. I had my little note cards. I didn't even use the note cards. You know, it's just, you know, you scared or whatever. I'm nervous. And I hadn't timed it before. I just went up and I did it. And it ran for like an hour, 10 minutes, like real cute. And it was amazing. Like, it was one of the best feelings of my life of, wow, with like nothing but my words, my mindset, my concepts, you know, my love and emotion, I birthed this fully fledged thing. Yes. Mm-hmm. And it exists in the world now. Yeah. And like, it's legitimate and people saw it and it was whole and full and complete. And I created that. Like, I it still mind boggles me. And so, yeah, once hopefully, fingers crossed, and if things go the way that they should go, and hopefully, prayerfully will go, you know, I'll get this book out and be able to do the show, like, in partnership with the book, in cohesion with the book, you know, book tour, show tour, all, you know, wrap it up. You know what I guess what I'm saying? I'm like, you know, because people go on book tours, but I want to do like, I don't want to just do a regular book tour. I want it to be like, you know, I'm putting on a show. Like, y'all are coming to see a full-fledged production. So yes.
People ain't ready.
Well, they're not.
I love it. I can't wait to see it. And it sounds incredible. And so when it gets out there, you better bring it through Texas. Okay, we wait.
Oh, you know, look, because you know I got my contacts everywhere. I'm like, okay, I gotta hit up. I'm like, listen, I already know should be in the theater scene. I'm like, put me on. I'm coming everywhere. I am.
And you got Rocky in New York. Okay, so.
Thank you. I love this. Especially since, you know, we're bringing, it is the year of Beyonce, really.
Yes, like, it is Renaissance era. Oh my God. I am on like the TikTok with like, look around, everybody on mute. And I get so heated when people are not on mute. I was like, you had months.
Do better. You had so much time to practice.
I literally just went to her concert a few weeks ago. And it was...
yes, I saw your
I'm like, look, it was beyond.
Yeah. So as I think about, you know, like the future, right? And you out and touring the show and all of that, you know, like if you look at, this is our final question. We wrap up with this question every time. If you look at the next chapter of your life, if the next chapter of your life was a poem, what would the title of that poem be?
The title of the poem, oh my gosh. And the next chapter, I would say like rebirth. I spent so much time away from myself. Like I said, I did not perform. I did not do poems for 7 years. I did not, from ages 19 to 26, I didn't do poems. And I literally just came back to poetry last February 2022. I walked back into my first open mic in several years. I'm getting emotional. I had strayed so far from myself, and I'd strayed so far from my purpose. And when I came back to it, was instant. It was like, boom, the world made sense again, you know? And so I've come back, and I've come back in a way that's just like, boom, like all, you know, guns a-blazing, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I really do feel like I've been birthed anew, like in this craft, in myself. Rebirth and reconciliation. And by reconciliation, I mean reconciliation with self. That coming back to self. I feel more myself now than I have in my entire life. And I'm, like I said at the beginning, my heart is always so full because I am so grateful for that, for finding me again. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Really. I want to really thank you for being here, sharing your energy, sharing this like new rebirth of your new life, right? Back into poetry, and for you just to like come back February 2022 and then for you to win, I think speaks volumes of what you manifest, how you work, and how you are so determined to bring in that truth and light into the stage and with your poetry. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. This was beautiful.
Yes. So
now go. You.
So I know I was like, so if people want to find your work, where can they find you?
Yes, you can follow me on all platforms at Poet Next Door. I don't know what, and that's really the universe /God/ whatever energies is working in my favor, because I locked that username down, and I don't know why no one else has had that idea or tried to take it. Nothing on every platform ever. That means Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. I am at Poet Next Door. No slashes, dashes, periods, none of that. It's just at Poet Next Door. Or you can search me up as Ayanna Florence. You know, videos will pop up in important places. So
perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been such an honor and a pleasure.
And hopefully we get to see you in person soon, Ayanna. Thank you.
Yes. I'm trying to come to both Texas and New York, so like it's gonna happen soon.
Let's go.
Awesome.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Oh my God. The way that the energy that I felt through Ayanna was like just electric and very loving, and I felt very held with what they're talking about. First of all, especially because of this rebirth and just kind of being in their own person and what it seems like to have their own stage, right? And finding that pleasure and agency within that. It speaks volumes to me, my journey, and my queerness as well as a woman of color. So this was beautiful.
I'm here for the manifestation. Okay. We putting it out. We manifesting, we making things happen. You know, I think a lot of times people are doing the work, right? But they're doing the work unseen, right? There's a lot of work that happens, behind the scenes, behind closed doors, not in the spotlight. That then when like somebody, like Ayanna said, comes back after 7 years, it's like the work was put in, right? You didn't know it, but here comes this poet and just like shows it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to rhyme.
No, but yes. But not only that, manifestation powers Ayanna has. Like, I'm just like, what, like, Florida, what water are you bathing in? What candles are you lighting? Or is it just like your ancestors are just like so like with you that and follow you that's like you're actually blessed, along with the hard work that she's been putting into. So I think this was a great conversation as always. And you know what, Chibi, I think there's some people we need to thank.
Yeah, let's go manifest things for our lives. But before we do, we want to thank 100% the listeners who are here at Words and Shit. Thank you for riding with us. Season 4. We make this podcast for poetry lovers like you out there. And we thank you for supporting us in these beautifully spoken words.
Yes, and if you enjoyed the beginning of our theme music and you were bumping along, that is all thanks to Chris Conde, this queer artist right there, just producing amazing work. Please, please, please follow them as well.
Yes, and thank you to Write Art Out and the City of San Antonio Department of Arts and Cultures, whose support has helped produce this podcast.
And if you're not following us, what are you doing? Go follow, take out your phone and follow us right now on IG and Twitter, because we refuse anything else. And we have a Threads as
it's official. We on Threads.
We on Threads. So please, you can find us at Words and Shh, right? And you can also slide into our DMs like that. We're open, we're flirty, we're open. We want to hear from you, okay? So if you have any artists that you think that you want to hear or we want to speak to, just let us know. Maybe we can make those dreams come true.
And if you're just joining us, or if you want to revisit past experiences, you can always watch or listen to all of our episodes. They are on YouTube and they are available wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes, and don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, and review us. We can't continue this without all those little hearts from you.
Mm-hmm. This has been a Gemini's production podcast. Until next time, everyone, stay safe out there.
Adios.